is a commemoration of the great Saint John Chrysostom, whose liturgy we serve virtually any time liturgy is served. And only during certain periods of the year, like at Lent or a few other feast days, do we serve the liturgies of St. Basil the Great or one of the other saints. This shows how great St. John Chrysostom was in the eyes of the Lord. One of the things that is interesting in his life is that in those days, St. John was born into the society which was not really orthodox as we would imagine it to be. And he came to the realization of the truth through his dealings with holy people and study, and most of all with living the commandments that the Lord gave to us all as disciples of his. And he realized from this that the truth lies in orthodoxy, and immediately desired to be baptized. But not only that, but out of zeal, he went and enclosed himself in a monastic life, and quite a harsh one at that. In fact, so harsh that it affected his health. And later on, he would write that those who start to live ascetic life should be careful to keep things in perspective and not to overdo things, because you can get so bound up with something that it starts to hurt the main part of what you're all about, which is to grow in the love of the Lord, your neighbour, and all such things. Some people say that this is sort of a form of confidence that a person needs to have. Most of the books that we read in Orthodoxy have quite large sections about the unrighteousness of showing off or criticizing others, of thinking oneself better than others. But this is not what confidence is, according to the way that we need to look at it. We need to remember that we were put on this earth in a perfect condition. Everything was perfect. And through the wiles of the envious demons, mankind was tricked into disobeying God's laws and becoming imperfect from that perfection. But more so, that imperfection brought in something even worse, which was death. And that's what the Lord came to pull us out of that death. The reading that we heard about this doctor of the law, that is a very learned theologian or whatever, who came to tempt the Lord by asking him, what is the one commandment that I need to do in order to enter the kingdom of heaven? He knew quite well what the answer was. The Lord also knew that this person came not really to receive the answer, but to receive some sort of argument or something to that effect. And he said to him, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbour as thyself. And if you do these things, you'll be saved. There is another aspect behind this which is not mentioned often in those terms, but that aspect has to do with a person loving themselves as well. Because if they don't love themselves, then the carelessness and the laziness and all the other passions that are bound up with not doing and not keeping Christ's commandments come into play. If you start to do some work, and it might be hard work, and you say to yourself, I don't have the confidence to do this. I don't have it. Therefore, I won't do it. That chance and that opportunity, therefore, disappears out of your life. But if you, even with whatever small confidence you might have, say that I will make an attempt to fulfill this law, perhaps it won't go as perfectly as you like straight away. But in all of those cases, you will grow and you will get to know spiritual life in more depth. Even if something doesn't work out the way you want it to work out, the Lord is teaching you the patience to be thankful for that and to be strengthened with the zeal not to give up just because something hasn't worked out once. The next time you try it, it may be different. You might be able to achieve what you set out to achieve, or certainly to improve upon it. But I think we've entered a generation of humans now where this confidence that people need has been virtually blown out. The slightest thing that gets in the way of anything good gives them excuse not to continue with the work. It's too hard to rather go and watch a sports match or something like that, or do something else, rather than do that which has been put in front of me by the Lord. And that's where we have to be careful in this age. Perhaps one of the reasons why, for example, so few people marry, in the West especially today, is that they make some sort of small effort if they meet somebody and sort of leave it at that. They don't go on and don't push through with a conclusion to that and an understanding of what is needed to live that sort of life. And that can be basically put into all our endeavours in life, no matter what. People are often given very difficult work to do, paid work, for their employment. And even before starting, they say, oh, it's impossible, I can't do this. Never done it before, it's not going to work. And they just give up. Others, with godly confidence, don't give up, but say, if the Lord gave this to me, then the Lord will help me somehow. I have to make sure not to give up. And quite often, when they don't give up, they realise quite soon that the job or whatever was put in front of them was not as hard as they imagined. Because don't forget, as it says, that we fight against not flesh and blood, but against the spiritual powers of the air, the demonic realm, which instills or can instill in us wrong ideas and wrong thinking about things, and can, to use the term, talk us out of working for the Lord. And once that chance is gone, it's gone. Will you get another chance after that? Who knows? Those who have children, in particular, need to inspire their children so that if they are not doing so well in something, need help in something, to give them that help and to show them ways by which they can achieve that which is put in front of them. Rather than, like in many cases, parents say, oh, you're such an idiotic boy, you don't know what you're doing, you're no good for anything, and you'll always come to nothing. And I'm not going to bother even trying to help you. How does a child react to that? What is a child going to think about that in the future? If that's the sort of things that are being put into his or her heart by the parents. And that's why it says that by loving yourself, not in the sense of being a show-off or thinking yourself better than others, but of realizing that it's possible with God's help to do almost everything. Move mountains if necessary. Because we come into this world born and grow and hopefully get old before we leave this world and go back to what is often in the writings of the Holy Fathers and even in the Gospels is termed as home, with a capital H, home. Home being the dwelling place or the place where the Lord exists. Of course, the Lord exists everywhere. But that doesn't mean that we are with him at all times. If we reject those things which he gives to us in order to test our endurance and test our love for him. Test our love for him. I think I might have told you that when my father was sick a few years ago and in hospital, cancer, that he was there for a while, and all sorts of tests and whatever were done, and he said that he remembers that somebody came and examined him and said, "Oh, you can go home tomorrow." And it was then that he died. And I've heard many stories like that occur. Home is where we belong, not this earth. This earth is our arena for the training of where we want to be in the end. But it's not the permanent place of our infinite existence. And therefore we need not put all our energy into the materialism and all those sorts of things which surround us, but rather into the spiritual life, so that we can be Christ-like in our nature and truly be at home with the Lord, who made us perfect, so perfect that it created an enormous jealousy amongst other creatures who wanted to destroy this situation. And these other creatures each year are given more and more freedom until they will bring upon the earth destruction. You know yourself, those of you who study, read, understand any of the things that go on in the world, that there is this creature called Antichrist, which is trying to imitate all the things that Christ promises to people, but with a trick behind it, because he cannot give eternal life, but only a place of darkness where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth, as they say. So may the Lord give us strength, and like St. John Chrysostom, do not give up studying those things which are important about the knowledge of God. He was so zealous for understanding that he would interpret the epistle and the gospel writings to such a strong extent that even St. Paul would come and stand next to him and correct him if there was something that he wrote that wasn't quite right. God help us in this struggle, which is only growing worse. And God help us to have the wisdom to explain it to others, the best way being by living that righteous and pious life ourselves. That's all I wanted to say at this point about the feast days that occurred today. On other occasions, I've told you about the man that fell among thieves and the story behind him. God help us, and may He truly open up unto us that confidence that we need, that godly confidence that we need in order to walk the righteous path.